Welcome to DMI's Next Sale, the podcast that covers everything financial professionals like you need to know in the annuity and life insurance space. Join us as we talk with experts about products, sales techniques, operations, and current events that directly affect your next sale.
You know, as financial professionals, we really want to give our clients the absolute best advice.
Absolutely.
But let's be honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
even when we know it's in their best interest, they just kind of hesitate.
Yeah, they get stuck.
They get stuck. They're not quite sure. They're on the fence, maybe.
Yeah.
So in this deep dive,
Yeah.
we're going to look at some really cool techniques that came out of a recent DMI webinar with Eric Warner,
Okay.
Sandler sales training expert.
Awesome.
We're going to explore how to get those maybes to turn into yeses.
I love it.
That's what we all want, right?
That's the name of the game for sure.
So really getting clients on board with what we're suggesting can be tough.
It can be one of the biggest hurdles.
For sure.
And, research backs it up.
Mhm.
You've got CFA Institute, J.D. Power, even the National Bureau of Economics,
Wow, big names.
all saying the same thing. Clients trust their own experience more, and they're not always sure we get their situation,
Yeah, I mean, we are dealing with people's finances, their dreams, their futures.
It's a big deal.
It's deeply personal.
It is, yeah.
Thankfully, Eric had some great ideas about turning those maybes into yeses. And one that really stood out to me was this whole concept of the upfront contract.
Upfront contract. Yeah, this is huge.
Tell me about that.
It's deceptively simple, but it's all about expectations, clarity from the get-go.
Sure.
It's a conversation, not a lecture,
Mhm.
Like, hey, let's make sure we're on the same page here. How long are we talking? What do we both want to get out of this?
So it's all about transparency and making sure everybody understands what's going on.
Exactly.
And I like how he laid it out, like step by step.
Yeah.
He said, first you establish the purpose.
Right.
Why are we here?
Right.
Anything changed since we last chatted?
Exactly.
Then the time.
Yeah.
How long is this going to take? Shows you respect their schedule.
It does, yeah.
Then it gets interesting. He talks about asking permission to ask questions. I think as financial professionals, we probably do this naturally. But to actually say it out loud,
Mm-hmm.
Would it be okay if I ask you some questions to get a better handle on things?
Yeah.
That can feel a little awkward.
It can, but it's huge.
It is.
It sets the tone.
It does.
And then outcomes.
Outcomes.
What are we hoping to accomplish today? What happens if it's a no? What could a yes look like? Lay it all out there.
That's great.
It is.
I noticed that he suggested putting what the client wants to talk about at the end of that whole upfront contract.
Interesting.
Right. It seemed counterintuitive to me,
Yeah.
Why not lead with what they want to cover?
It's strategic.
Okay.
Because if you put their agenda first, the conversation can go off the rails before you've even had a chance to, set the stage. You get permission to ask those key questions.
Makes sense, yeah.
It does.
It's like setting the stage,
right.
before the play even begins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting. This upfront contract actually builds trust, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Because you're explicitly giving the client an out.
They know they can say no.
And that can make them more likely to be honest and actually engage.
Absolutely.
It takes the pressure off.
It does, yeah.
Paradoxically, they can say no, but that might make them more open to saying yes.
It's all about building that relationship and making them feel comfortable.
That's what we want.
It
It's
does.
those confident yeses,
Yeah,
that lead to those really successful client relationships.
exactly. Creating that win-win.
Now, DMI is hosting this great workshop on March 5th called Turn Discovery into Revenue.
I've heard about that, yeah.
And it's all about putting these ideas into practice. I'm guessing the upfront contract is a big part of that.
It is. Huge part. You get hands-on practice, talk tracks, everything you need to implement this stuff right away.
So to register, you can call Declan at 781-919-2337.
That's right.
Or you can visit dmiuniversity.com. So once you've set the stage with that upfront contract, the next step is really figuring out what the client needs and what motivates them.
Getting into their heads a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where the questioning techniques become so important.
Right.
A lot of salespeople, and let's be honest, we do some selling as financial advisors.
We do.
We rely way too much on those closed-ended questions, the yes-no kind of.
Yeah, we're all busy.
We are.
Brains crave simple.
Right.
We want those quick answers.
Exactly. But here's the problem with that. Those yes-no questions, they don't tell you the why.
Wow.
You need to go deeper.
Okay.
So instead of Like, are you worried about retirement?
Okay.
It's more like, what are your biggest hopes and fears when you think about retirement?
Okay, so you're getting them to open up a little bit more.
Exactly. Those open-ended questions, starting with what or how, they get the client talking, sharing their real thoughts, their feelings.
And that's how we tap into the emotional side of investing,
It's huge.
which, let's be honest, is really what drives most financial decisions.
Totally. It's not just the numbers, it's what those numbers represent, you know?
Right.
Are they all about accumulating wealth?
Okay.
Or is it safety and security that's top of mind?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they want to have these incredible experiences, travel the world, whatever it is,
I see.
or leave a legacy, for their kids or a cause they believe in.
So are they driven by, a fear of running out of money
Could be.
or excitement for, what that money can do?
Absolutely.
I mean, those are really powerful drivers.
They are.
And understanding which one is, at the top for your client, that's crucial.
Absolutely. It shows you're connecting with their values, you get them, and that builds trust.
And then they're more likely to trust our advice.
Well, exactly. It's all connected.
Move forward with confidence.
That's the goal.
So attendees at DMI's Turn Discovery into Revenue
Mhm.
on March 5th, they're going to get to actually practice crafting these open-ended questions
They will. It's going to be great.
and learn how to use them.
For sure.
It's going to be a great workshop.
It is.
It's happening March 5th. To register, you can call Declan at 781-919-2337
Yep.
or visit dmiuniversity.com.
Easy.
Now, even with the best questions, sometimes we hit a snag.
It happens.
A client might throw us a curveball,
Yeah.
an objection, a confusing question, maybe a demand that doesn't quite make sense.
Oh, yeah.
So how do we handle those gracefully? How do we stay productive?
This is where reversing comes in, a classic Sandler technique.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me about reversing.
Sure. It's all about clarifying things before you jump into a solution
Okay.
making sure you understand the client's concern or question
Right.
instead of scrambling for that perfect answer right away.
So you're saying when the client throws a curveball,
Yeah.
we take a beat and really dig a little deeper.
Exactly. Like, say a client asks for a specific investment plan
Oh.
or wants a quote on fees before you even know what they truly need.
Right.
Instead of just saying, okay, here's the plan, you could reverse
Reverse.
by saying something like, help me understand what you're looking for in a plan. Or many of our clients like to get quotes from a few different advisors. Is that where you're at in the process?
Okay, so you're acknowledging what they're asking for,
Right.
but you're also creating a space to actually talk about it.
Exactly. You're exploring their motivations, making sure you're both on the same page.
I see.
And here's a pro tip. You can use what we call a negative reverse to really gauge their commitment.
A negative reverse.
Yeah, you might say something like, so it sounds like fees are your main focus right now. I'm guessing you wouldn't be open to exploring other options that might actually align better with your long-term goals.
Wow, that's bold.
It is.
What I find interesting about that is a no is actually better than a yes,
You got it.
because a no means they're actually invested.
They're engaged. They're considering things.
They're willing to have the conversation.
Exactly.
A yes, there almost feels like they're shutting down.
Yeah, they're just going through the motions.
So the key here with reversing
Yeah,
is to really come from a place of understanding.
absolutely. It's about expressing that you're on their side, you know?
Right. So it's not like you're accusing them of anything.
No.
It's more like, hey, I'm here to help.
Exactly. You want to come from that nurturing place.
Create that safe space for open and honest conversation.
Exactly. Make them feel comfortable sharing, even if it seems a little, out there.
Right.
This whole reversing thing made me think of something else that Eric talked about.
Oh, okay.
Understanding your client's psychology.
Okay.
People don't invest solely on logic and spreadsheets, right?
Right.
There's emotion there, and it's powerful.
Right. We're talking about their hopes and dreams
Yeah.
and also their fears.
Absolutely. Their insecurities, it's all tied in.
It all comes out in their finances.
For sure. And Eric actually broke these drivers down into 4 main categories.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
First, you've got the accumulators. They're all about building wealth, seeing that portfolio grow.
So they love seeing those gains.
They do. Then, the security seekers, safety and stability above all else.
Okay, so the accumulator's going for it.
Yeah.
Security seekers are more about protecting what they've built.
Right. Different mindsets.
Right.
Then you have the experience seekers. They're investing to enjoy life, travel, hobbies,
So they want to translate their financial success into something they can actually enjoy.
Exactly. They want to make memories.
Makes sense.
And lastly, the legacy builders focused on leaving a lasting impact for their families, or maybe a cause they really believe in.
Okay, so it's about something bigger than themselves.
Exactly.
Wow, that's actually a really helpful way to look at it.
It is. It helps you tailor your approach.
Understanding what drives them.
Yeah, it helps you speak their language, you know?
And then they feel like you get them,
You get it. You're on their team.
which builds trust and confidence.
Exactly. And speaking of building that connection, attendees at DMI's Turn Discovery into Revenue are actually going to get to practice using these drivers and tailor their approach.
It's happening on March 5th. You can call Declan at 781-919-2337 to register.
That's right.
Or you can visit dmiuniversity.com.
Perfect.
So instead of asking,
Yeah.
what's your risk tolerance,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of dry,
Yeah, nobody wants to talk about that.
you could ask, what gives you the most peace of mind when it comes to your money?
Oh, that's good.
Or what are your biggest hopes and dreams for the future, and how can your investments get you there?
Now you're talking. Those are the questions that get people excited,
It's not about pushing products. It's about helping people achieve what they want in life.
That's it. That's the heart of it.
And DMI's Turn Discovery into Revenue workshop
Mm-hmm.
is a great way to practice these techniques and get some feedback from the experts.
It is. It's a great opportunity.
It's happening March 5th.
That's right.
Call Declan at 781-919-2337 or visit dmiuniversity.com to register.
Can't miss it.
Now, we've been talking about understanding the client's psychology, but it's also important to be aware of our own biases.
Oh, huge point. Yeah, we all have our own preconceived notions that can get in the way of truly listening.
Right. We might think we already know the answer, or we might steer the conversation towards something that we're comfortable with,
Happens all the time. Yeah,
even if it's not actually what's best for the client.
right. And that's not what we want.
So how do we fight against that? How do we make sure we're really putting the client first?
Awareness is key.
Okay.
We got to acknowledge those biases and make a conscious effort to set them aside.
That's easier said than done, I think.
It is, but it's crucial.
So what does that look like in practice?
Really listening, paying attention to what the client is saying, even how they're saying it.
So body language, tone of voice.
All those little cues, they matter.
It's about being present in the moment.
Exactly, not just waiting for your turn to talk.
So it's almost like you have to take yourself out of it a little bit
In a way, yeah, you got to be objective.
and be honest with yourself.
Right, like, am I really doing what's best for this person, or am I letting my ego get in the way?
That's a tough question to ask.
It is, but it's necessary.
And that's something that'll be explored in depth at DMI's Turn Discovery into Revenue workshop.
Oh, for sure. It's a safe space to really examine those biases and figure out how to overcome them.
Great.
It's all about becoming a better communicator and building those strong, genuine relationships.
Right. And Eric also talked about different roles that advisors play. He didn't give specific titles, but it was all about the value you bring to the table.
They did, yeah.
He mentioned, some advisors are primarily educators. They're great at explaining things in a way that people understand.
Right, they break it down step by step.
They make it clear.
They're the patient guides.
Yeah.
Then you've got the strategists. They excel at developing those comprehensive plans.
They see the big picture.
They do. They anticipate challenges before they even arise.
They're like the master planners.
Absolutely, mapping out that path to success.
Then you've got the problem solvers. They're really good at identifying those pain points and addressing them head on.
Troubleshooters, yeah, they get things done.
They're the ones you call when you're stuck.
Exactly. They help you navigate those tricky situations.
And then, of course, they're relationship builders.
Eyes.
They make you feel heard and understood.
They build that trust, that rapport. It's crucial.
So I guess most advisors probably embody a combination of those roles, right?
Most likely, yeah. But we all have our strengths.
So that's where that self-awareness comes in again,
It does, knowing your dominant role.
and how that impacts your interactions.
Yeah, if you're naturally an educator, you might need to remind yourself to listen more,
Instead of just lecturing.
Right, or if you're a strategist, maybe you need to work on connecting with clients on a personal level, not just focusing on the plan.
It's about striking that balance,
Absolutely. Being adaptable, meeting each client where they're at.
And I think that's a key takeaway from Eric's webinar, and something that'll be explored at DMI's Turn Discovery into Revenue workshop.
It is. You'll identify your strengths, your blind spots, and learn how to maximize your effectiveness.
It's about becoming a more well-rounded advisor.
Exactly. And, this whole conversation about roles and self-awareness makes me think of something else that Eric mentioned.
Oh, okay.
Embracing discomfort.
Embracing discomfort. That's interesting.
Yeah, he talked about how real growth comes from stepping outside your comfort zone, trying new things, even if it feels a little awkward at first.
Right. It's easy to stick with what you know.
It is, but that's not where the magic happens.
If you want to excel,
Yeah.
you got to push yourself.
That's what the Turn Discovery into Revenue workshop is all about,
It is.
Challenging assumptions, pushing those boundaries, becoming more effective.
So it's about embracing the learning process, being open to new ideas.
And constantly striving to improve.
Which brings us back to this whole buying window concept.
The buying window.
It feels a little elusive, but it's so important.
It is. We've got to understand it.
Let's dive into that next.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about this buying window. What is that exactly?
It's basically that time when your client is most open to making a decision,
Oh, okay.
Like they're ready to move from thinking about it to actually doing something.
So it's that sweet spot where they're ready to take action.
Exactly. And we need to be able to spot that, as advisors.
Right, and capitalize on it.
Yeah, help them move forward.
But how do we even know when that window is open? Are there, signs to look for?
Oh, absolutely. It's not an exact science.
Right.
But there are definitely some indicators.
Okay.
For example, they might start asking more specific questions about your services, your fees, the nitty-gritty stuff.
So it's less about general information and
Yeah.
more about the actual details.
Exactly, like timelines, next steps, that kind of thing.
Okay, so they're thinking about taking that next step.
Yeah, and another sign is a sense of urgency. Maybe they mention needing to make a decision soon.
Right.
Could be a life event, like retirement or a kid going to college.
Or just, they've been putting it off and now they're ready to finally do something.
Exactly. And this is where those discovery techniques we've been talking about really come in handy. The upfront contract, the open-ended questions, reversing.
It all ties together.
It does. It helps you understand their motivations, their pain points, and recognize that window when it opens.
So we're not just recognizing it.
No.
We're ready to actually act.
Right. You got to have your proposals ready, be able to articulate the benefits.
Clearly and concisely.
And address any concerns they might have head on.
Yeah, because that window might not stay open forever.
It doesn't. It can close just as fast as it opened.
Right. You got to strike while the iron's hot.
That's it. And that brings us back to DMI's Turn Discovery into Revenue workshop.
It does.
March 5th, all about recognizing and capitalizing on those buying windows.
That's right. Attendees are going to learn how to craft those compelling presentations, handle objections, really guide their clients toward making a decision.
It's a game changer for sure.
To register, call Declan at 781-919-2337 or visit dmiuniversity.com.
Can't miss it.
This whole buying window thing makes me think about the bigger picture.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, we've been talking about individual client interactions, right? But it feels like the industry as a whole has buying windows too.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Are there times when the market is primed for certain products or services?
Absolutely. Think about robo-advisors or the whole ESG investing trend.
Sustainable investing, right?
Yeah, huge opportunities for advisors who are able to adapt.
Right. So it's about being aware of those larger trends and shifts in the market.
For sure. Economic conditions, interest rates, global events, all of that can create both challenging and opportunities.
Which highlights the importance of always learning and growing.
Huge. Eric talked about that a lot in the webinar.
He did.
The best advisors, they never stop learning. They're always seeking out new information, new skills.
Hey, stay ahead of the curve.
That's how you thrive in this business.
And that's what DMI's Turn Discovery into Revenue is all about.
It is. Invest in yourself. Invest in your growth.
It's an investment that could pay off big time.
Couldn't agree more.
So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
The power of the upfront contract, investment psychology, buying windows.
Lots of great insights.
It's been great.
It has.
But the real work starts now.
You
got to take these ideas and actually apply them.
Make them your own.
Mastering discovery is a journey. It never really ends.
That's the beauty of it.
It's about constantly honing your skills,
Yeah.
building those relationships with your clients.
And helping them reach their goals.
And don't forget, DMI's workshop is on March 5th.
That's right.
To register, you can call Declan at 781-919-2337 or visit dmiuniversity.com.
Perfect.
We hope to see you there. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those buying windows open.
Absolutely.
This was DMI's Next Sale podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode, For more information about this episode, additional resources, or to learn about partnering with DMI, be sure to connect with us on your next sale at DMI.com.